Hey, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a word you probably hear all the time, from the news to conversations at a coffee shop: entrepreneurship.
Right? It's a term that gets thrown around so much, but when you try to nail down what it actually means, it gets a little fuzzy. For instance, is every single person who starts their own business an entrepreneur? Well, not exactly.
So let's get right to it. At its core, entrepreneurship isn't just about opening up shop. It's about creating something that adds real, significant economic value. And it has to be powered by creativity, and, this is the big one, it involves taking on risk.
Think of these three things as a kind of formula. A project isn't really entrepreneurial unless it checks all three boxes. It has to create some serious financial return. It has to be innovative, not just another copy of something that's already out there. And yeah, there's always risk, but it's not a blind leap of faith. We're talking about a calculated risk, something that's been researched and planned out.
Okay, so once you have those core ideas in mind, you start to realize that entrepreneurship isn't this one single thing. It actually shows up in a few different flavors. So let's break down the three main phases of it. First up, you've got corporate entrepreneurship. This is when innovation happens inside a big, established company. The perfect story here is the Sony PlayStation. A junior employee at Nintendo actually came up with the core idea, but the company passed on it. Can you believe it? Sony saw the opportunity, took on the risk, and it became this massive new part of their business. It's a classic example of a big company finding new ways to win.
Then you have social entrepreneurship. Now, this is all about tackling big social and environmental issues, but doing it with a business that can sustain itself and be profitable. The most famous example here has got to be Muhammad Yunus. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for his project, the Grameen Bank, which gives tiny loans, microloans, to the poor so they can start their own businesses. It's a powerful idea, doing good and doing it well.
And finally, we've got the one we see everywhere these days: digital entrepreneurship. This is all about using technology and the internet to build businesses from the ground up. You know, that e-commerce shop where you bought your last phone case, the apps you use every day, or even the content creators you watch online. This is what entrepreneurship looks like in the internet age.
And you know, speaking of the digital age, this kind of entrepreneurial explosion doesn't just happen by accident. In some places, it's a full-on national strategy. For a really powerful real-world example of this, just look at Saudi Arabia. It's a country that is betting its entire economic future on creating a startup boom.
And this isn't just some vague mission statement. It is a central part of their huge national plan, which they call Saudi Vision 2030. They've made it crystal clear: building a culture of entrepreneurship is a top priority for completely transforming their economy.
And they've put a massive number on that goal. They want to boost the economic contribution of small and medium-sized businesses from 20% all the way up to 35%. I mean, think about that. That's not just a small adjustment. We're talking about fundamentally rewiring the economy of an entire nation.
So how in the world do you pull something like that off? You build an entire ecosystem from scratch. And they're doing the whole shebang, creating government agencies to provide money and support, launching incubators to help new ideas grow, guaranteeing loans to lower the risk for founders, and even slashing red tape to make it easier to get started. It's a complete top-to-bottom strategy.
Okay, this brings us to a really important point, and honestly, it's where most people get tripped up. What is the actual difference between an entrepreneurial startup and just a regular small business? Let's clear this up once and for all.
The differences here are just fundamental. It really all boils down to the vision. A small business, maybe like your favorite local bakery, is designed to provide a steady, stable income. But an entrepreneurial venture, it's swinging for the fences. The goal is to build massive, incredible wealth. And that one difference changes everything else. A startup has to move super fast, while a small business can grow slowly. It means the startup has to embrace high but managed risk and make innovation its reason for being. The small business, it prefers safety and routine. They're just playing two totally different games.
So we've covered a lot of ground here: what entrepreneurship is, its different forms, and just as important, what it isn't. But what does it actually take for it to happen? Well, it all comes down to four essential elements that have to click together. The best way to think about it is like a recipe. First, you need the entrepreneur. That's the person with the vision and the grit. Then you need the opportunity. That's the gap in the market, that unmet need just waiting for a solution. Next, you need the organization, the actual business structure to make it all legal and functional. And finally, you need the resources, the money, the team, and the tools to actually make it happen. A venture only really takes off when you have all four of those things working together.
And in the end, it all comes back to this one simple idea. At the heart of every single great entrepreneurial project is the discovery of a gap in the market, an unmet need. It's about seeing what's missing. So I'll leave you with this question. What's one gap you see out there in the world around you?